Hey, I don't know what they caught. You know, there's like a second or so. So, hey, true believers, what's up? All right, so this book, we know all about it. Green Lantern #1, written by Tim Sheridan, marketed by, hey, you bigots. That's it, man. I'm seriously. Oh, no. Hey, gay people, there are bigots. So buy this book was more like how he said, buy my book.
I guess it gives a whole new meaning to his weakness being wood. But I'm tin. And I can say that because I'm gay, goddammit.
There you go. You're gay and I'm the one in the Little Mermaid t-shirt. But this is real Little Mermaid right here as well. My wife got this for me for $1. And she goes, I thought this was fun. No, I love it. I actually am a fan of the original movie, so it's okay. Hold on just a second. Let me get this. I got a light over here, but it's shining on, and I'm looking way all up. Anywho, I figured let's do this as a bad comic beatdown. I was going, well, should I tear it down? Should put it panel to panel and all that? Screw it. I do not condone anyone going to any pirate site, any of that kind of stuff. You have your own morality. You know what's law, what's not law, yada, yada, blah, 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 blah. Everything I need to say to cover my ass. Okay? There you go. We do not condone going to pirate sites to read comics. At all. Ever.
We do, however, know that you probably will anyway.
That being said, here's Green Lantern. Okay, so, classic cover. Yeah, I'm just getting down to it. Actually, let me whip this out. That way we could see it better.
When you said whip it out, you do realize the camera focused on his crotch area, right?
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Okay,
no,
good.
Actually,
as long as you were aware that was what you were doing. I thought you did it by accident. I was like,
no, I did do it. It just was happenstance. But what I actually did was separate. I've got a lot of tabs open. I separated it so I could see the chat and the book. Let me move this so I'm not highlighting my garbage can over there. What's up, Jim Sorensen? Jay's in the house. How you guys doing? What's up, cartoons and comics? Well, let's get to this. Now, we all have seen the cover, and they're, by the way, having a Return to Superman 30th anniversary special. And the book itself opens with a newspaper. And by the way, they actually, Tim Sheridan, I guess, wrote out an article. He tries to use not modern slang, but I actually wrote a paper on 1940s slang. And none of this is 1940s slang. Sorry, dude. You tried. I got to give, right off the bat, this is an article about how Green Lantern stopped Solomon Grundy. I give him props for trying. Almost. So right out the gate, I got to say, I was a little bit impressed because this wasn't a blurry image of a newspaper.
Someone put in effort.
Yeah, effort was put in to actually write an article, and it talks about
a novel concept in this day and age. Someone put in effort.
And then you get down here, and it's asking, well, there's one thing missing, the Justice Society of America, and we find out that it is Green Lantern, and he's reading the paper in the office of J. Edgar Hoover. Now, we've seen this part. Okay, so they cut off the article part to show us this. This was what they led with. This is part one of what they wanted you to think about the book. And now I'm going to kind of, not only are we going to talk about the book itself, but of course, Tim Sheridan coming out telling everybody they're bigots if they don't, and if you're gay, you have to buy the book. You don't buy my book, you're not gay, or bi, or a bisexual bottom, as my friend
I didn't need Alan Scott to be gay. Thank you.
Yeah, but you do need Tim Sheridan's approval.
No, somehow I will go on with my life fully in the knowledge that he does not approve, and I will not give a single solitary crap.
Right. Okay. So this is the same opening. If you haven't read it, I'm going to just skim over this because this has been published already and we've seen it. J. Edgar Hoover is he says, look, the thing that's missing out of that article is the JSA. And Green Lantern's kind of reticent about going back to the JSA. So he pops out a file. And he actually, it says Alan Scott. And Green Lantern is like, who's that? And he goes, come on, man. We're better than you at this. And there's photographs in there. And now Tim Sheridan says, J. Edgar Hoover didn't try to blackmail Green Lantern into sex. Okay, after all of him threatening and showing photos and all that kind of stuff, I told you I get what I want. Oh, also, we're having a little get-together in Forest Hills this weekend. You'll come, Clyde. You'll come. Clyde will give you the details on your way out. And Alan, wear those combat boots. And we see that we have Green Lantern here holding his boyfriend, if they still fit. So obviously these are pictures of him in the military. And we cut to 1936 when he was in the military. And who was filming this? Is that the... I remember having a movie camera, and I'll tell you what, and it's an older one, like this. They don't make pictures this clear. You've got, first of all, it would be in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no sound whatsoever.
No.
Okay, so, okay, one more. No, they told me, and then this is him taking the pictures. Okay. Oh, it's just a regular camera. Then my bad.
Okay. If I may critique the writing for a second here.
Okay, go ahead.
This setup could almost work, and you could almost get social justice points with it if instead of J. Edgar Hoover blackmailing him to, have a fling with him, it was J. Edgar Hoover blackmailing him to not out him, basically. Because
well, that's basically what he is. He's saying you either get in the JSA or I'm going to out you.
What they're trying to do is basically what they did to Alan Turing, but it comes off as sleep with me or I'm going to out you, which should not be the point.
Okay, so it says they told me I should write it all down. They're calling it a journal, but for me, this is more like a record. There are many things I may not want to forget, like how stupid we were, and the dude saying, "Give me the camera, you can't resist me." Then it's like, hear what that you're not a natural blonde. Okay, so there you go. Once again, in seconds, you've gone from a mood to in a mood. Okay, and I guess this guy was horny, and Alan Scott just kind of killed it. And he's saying, Johnny, this is a sin. Why? Because we're not married. I'd marry you right now. Okay, here we go. I'd marry you right now, here and now, right here and now, excuse me, if they let us. You'll have to take my name, though, because Johnny Scott sounds like a brand of toilet cleanser. Then we have, hey, if God himself didn't want me to love you, then how could I? Okay. I get the challenge. I think a lot of people are going to be mad at that. I've always thought that gay people are part of nature as well. It's kind of a population control.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no proof. So it's just, I was like, okay, what in nature? Obviously, there is a certain number of gay people to a certain number of heterosexual people. There has to be a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. I believe in a God. And if I believe in a God, shouldn't there be a reason? And in all honesty, and I also believe you're born that way. This is not a choice.
Yeah.
So that's what I came up with. It has to be a form of population control, especially when I heard that even animals can.
Yeah, it happens in most mammals and even some reptiles. Roughly about 10% of the population is inclined the other way. So.
Okay, so he says, and why would he make me look so good in a ring? That eyesore once our mission is a go. As soon as we're at sea, it's the first thing I'm chucking overboard. Okay, so they're going to be deployed. Now, if they're discovered, they're in big trouble back in the day. Yeah. I'll have to know, sir, that this is a Southern Conference College Baseball Championship ring, and I won't even bother explaining to you what baseball is because you'll just reduce the whole thing to algebra. Okay, I'm bored already. Joined the Army Corps of Engineers. I guess this is his diary. to build railroads and levees, but with all the rumblings about the new German leader, me, Johnny, and a few other sappers were engaged on a top secret project with a goal that was fantastical to say the least. And then we have, I guess, his commanding officer saying, the Crimson Flame, it sounds like something out of a pulp digest or radio serial, and maybe it is just an old myth. But if it isn't, imagine the kind of power it takes to make a fire burn for centuries underwater. If it's out there, and if it can be harnessed by good old Uncle Sam, then any war we ever need to fight will be over before it starts. Put simply, the true power of the Crimson Flame is the assurance that America remains stronger than the strongest nations in history. All we have to do is take it. Scott says, we can't say for sure the thing exists, but if it does, the unit that Johnny, that the corporal and I have built will contain it, guaranteed. Sorry, I'm reading without my glasses. I apologize. Cartoons Comics says, I see the gay agenda. Well, it's I'm normally I would say let's read it out. Let's find out. Okay. It's one thing to have gay people in a book. Gay people exist. Dalton, you know. To just put them in a book, that's one thing. But Tim Sheridan came right out and said this is an agenda by how
this is an LGBT thing.
The fact that DC Comics decided to change a man who had a wife and kids is an agenda. Not to mention they erased his son, who actually was gay organically, and they just retconned him out of existence. Yeah. So normally I would actually fight against that whole, it's an agenda thing, just because I want to see where it lands first. I mean, granted, we all know the pre-hate. We all know the what happened before the book. This is the book, but I am right here on the side of this is going to be agenda filled. And that's just because of what the writer came out and said, and DC never said no.
Yeah.
All right. So the commanding officer says, we've made significant modifications to this dredge that will allow us with the pull of a lever to use the ship's intake mechanism to draw the source of the flame into our specifically designed hopper. M18 has discovered, or is that MI8? Has discovered a set of coordinates that will take us to the razor's edge of Soviet waters, where with any luck, we'll locate the flame, contain it, and we'll be home in a flash. If it sounds simple, it's because the best team of engineers in the United States Army has spent 2 years simplifying it, men, that I am proud to call my brothers Assaons, and they just shout out Assaons. I don't know what that is. If you guys do, let me know in the comments or the chat. And then the diary says, we set out in the morning. The whole mission was wildly ambitious. At that moment, the Army loved ambition. We made sure to temper expectations. We were, after all, on the hunt for what was essentially a child's bedtime story. But for some reason, I was totally confident we'd find it. They'd brand us heroes. As long as they didn't... Oh, go ahead.
You're the Green Lantern, and your powers are explicitly magic-based. You don't have much room to talk about bedtime stories being unbelievable, mate.
That's true.
Granted, he's not the Green Lantern, I don't think, yet in this flashback, so maybe I'm being overly pedantic.
So it goes on to say, as long as they didn't find out what we really were, how we spent our nights, him and me, the plans we were making, the ones that we shared, and then the ones that we're too afraid to tell each other. Why? This is where we have the trouble. Okay, are you making a superhero book about a gay character? Or are you making a gay book about a superhero?
Or neither, or both somehow.
Now here's a few years back. I forget his freaking name. There's an M in it. He wrote a Snagglepuss book, and it was absolutely a book about gay people with Snagglepuss in it. But it was absolutely honest about that from the very beginning. In the very first issue, Snagglepuss was an actor. He is gay. He has to closet himself, and it went all the way through the 60s or right through Stonewall.
This was the DC Hanna-Barbera crossovers.
I had no problem with it because it was very honest about what it was. You tell me you're doing a Green Lantern comic book, and I'm expecting superhero heroics. I'm expecting you to respect the legacy of the character, and this is not it. Okay, now I do understand that in the time period, if you were gay and in the army, you could face death.
You could be
There's
sterilized
no lie
like Alan
about that.
Turing
Say
as well.
again?
Yeah. You could also be sterilized like Alan Turing was.
Yeah, but the thing is Green Lantern, wife, kids. You could have picked any of the single members of the JSA and gone, this is why they were single. But chose to go after somebody with a wife and kids. That's one more reason why it seems there's an agenda to this. There's not just a story.
And they did it because he had a gay son, but the gay son wasn't a big enough deal for them, so they retconned the gay son out of existence and retconned his gayness onto his father.
Well,
for
cartoons
some reason.
And comics saying that I am a fan of the JSA Obsidian in the 90s. I read all that when I had 10 years, missed the JLI and JSA pre-New 52. That was so good. Thanks, animated series. I learned that from the JLA. So there you go. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the JSA, especially Jeff Johns runs. Have the omnibuses, love reading them. Have the trade paperbacks, whole 9 yards, which will be up on eBay pretty quick here. So I gotta say, things had happened fast with us. Johnny Ladd was assigned to Crimson when we were 6 months deep. A brilliant mind, creative. He was indispensable to the team inside a day. To me, even faster. I don't know, maybe too fast. He takes the ring from him. What the hell are you doing? You've got to be careful. I mean, God, Johnny, if someone saw us, Alan, shut up. I was so busy being an idiot. No, you weren't, because you guys could die. I forgot why we were on that boat in the first place, but there we were, less than a week out, and we'd already found the Crimson Flame, or rather, the damn thing found us. And it's telling us to check out the Alan Scott story in the DC Pride. I wouldn't. $10, and they are not good. Those books suck. Let's see. New York City, 1941. Hold up. Not that this Crimson Flame crap ain't thrilling me to no end, but just go back. Y'all saying the J. Edgar Hoover. Okay, what are we talking about? Anyway, again, yes, Derby, the Hoover. And you're telling me he's blackmailing you. Wow, I mean, you was already famous, Al, but this is famous on a whole nother level. Are they in Louisiana?
I'm confused. Who was the president in 41?
41 was that
I
can't remember the name.
I want to say it would have been Eisenhower.
The dude in the wheelchair in 41.
Oh, so
goodness gracious, I can't believe I'm having it. Guys, help me out. Help me. Thank you, FDR.
FDR would be the guy in the wheelchair.
And all he wants is for you to smash up a few goons with the Justice Club, Justice Society, and that's not all he wants. But that's enough. So what? Who cares? You spend a day with Dr. Helmet, the ghost guy, to Zippy the fastball, or what have you, and bingo bango, the feds is off your case. I say do it.
Okay, obviously the Dr. Helmet thing was a reference to Dr. Fate, and while I am annoyed that I'm annoyed about the flippancy, I am happy that he was at least listed first.
And maybe he will get his own gay comic book. On account of you, he says he can't join the JSA. On account of who? You fool around with? That ain't none of their business. You're a hero. Maybe in the light, but after dark, the world, its laws being what they are, the hard truth is, I'm a criminal. Don't say that. It ain't like you're some kind of delinquent. Derby, I knowingly and repeatedly commit felonious acts with other men that, woohoo. Okay, by the way, aside from the Crimson Flame, the plot, the story has been about one thing, and I've said this since the very beginning. Never give a gay character to a gay man. Never give a woman to a woman character to a woman, and don't give a black character to a black man. Not modern day. You could have done it in the past, and there are some exceptions that, like Christopher Priest, even Larry Hama, people who've been around for a while, know how to write characters. The plot,
as characters.
the plot is not bad. The story so far has been, I am gay. That is it. Green Lantern. Green Lantern is gay. That's it. That's the whole story. That's all this is about. I said it when I was talking about the preview. I said it a long time ago when we first heard it. As soon as they make a character gay, and it's always gay. They say bi, but it's always gay.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they do that, that character is nothing other than that. They will not write a story with Alan Scott. They won't.
At the very least, they haven't started turning him into Big Gay Al or a character from Will and Grace just yet.
He is super. Wait, you mean you're offended by 1980s and 90s gay stereotype neighbors? Hi, y'all.
Yeah, that's it's not as bad as Big Gay Al, but like Will and Grace is unwatchable.
Okay, so what's worse? Is it worse to be Will and Grace or Big Gay Al, or is it worse to be what is his name? Jim something or other from oh goodness, I used to know. I just had it on my head. There was a guy who closeted himself. He couldn't though. He was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Yeah, oh, I'm gonna go to my girlfriend. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Let's see. Cartoons Comics saying one good writer would make him be homophobic, then learn that he has a son that's gay, and that would even be great. Could be his best friend was gay. He makes him feel bad and then finds out later in life. That would be a story. That would be a story that would respect it. Plus, you have a hero who does good things but is not a good person.
Or here's a novel idea. He has a gay son and he doesn't care. Like just straight up ambivalent, doesn't like it's not relevant. That would be excellent because I'm sick of coming out stories, and I'm sick of the bigot learns not to be a bigot stories. Please just treat it like a character thing and move on.
The way what just popped in my head was either way, liking it or don't like it. If you write it like this, it makes it all about being gay. So Dobby goes, hey, I don't judge you, but I don't need no details on what you do with your felonies, and neither does the JSA. The last time I was on a team, people got hurt, and it was my fault. The best thing I could do for the JSA and for the Green Lantern is to keep a healthy distance. Al, come on. How do you hurt guys with 10 helmets and wings and that other one with the fancy coat and the gas mask? Sandra, Derby, and they hear the radio. On it, boss. You want I should call the JSA too? I'm sure they've gotten word.
Okay, while we're here, let me explain to you a very simple reason why this conversation doesn't work.
Okay.
You could make an argument that every single member of the JSA is breaking the law and committing felonies. One, vigilantism in general is frowned upon. Two, especially in the 1930s, 40s-ish era, Dr. Fate is explicitly a magic user, and there is no way in hell that, bargain basement middle America doesn't look at that and go, dark magic ? Or Satanism ? But apparently none of the other characters, obviously potentially felonious or at least easily misconstrued character aspects matter, because right now we're focusing on the gay, and that's the only thing that anyone has ever had a problem with ever in the 1930s and 40s, apparently.
Yeah. So let's see. Tim Sheridan can't write for crap, says to Hillam. His crap Teen Titans Academy. Yeah, even his future. I kind of like the future state part, but when it came down to the actual book, not all that great. The thing is, I was homophobic, says Cartoons Comics, because of my cousin, I learned not to be. I never was. I was 12 years old, and this guy, we were a group of friends. It's summer school. And we're at lunch. This guy, tall black guy, spoke like he was gay. Kind of figured he was gay. We're all standing around and we're talking, and kids will be kids, and they say stuff. and we were saying some not good things about gay people. And he goes, well, I'm gay. And everybody just kind of moved away. Like, you ever see that Home Alone? No, Uncle Buck, where he's like, would anybody want to trade my bad thing for a good thing? And like everybody just went away from him. That was how it was. And I was like, the fuck? You know?
Yeah.
I didn't move. And everybody kind of just stopped. I was like, he was gay yesterday too, guys. You know?
Yeah. And for the record, Cartoons and Comics, I'm certainly glad that you came around. But the fact of the matter is, especially today, barring the people who have unfortunately been pushed into homophobia by the SJWs constantly shoving it down everyone's throats, there are plenty of people who just straight up do not care. And I would like to see that aspect be represented a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even though obviously the reformed bigot has more dramatic value some of the time, it's overused to the point of cliche.
A good, especially in 2023, a good old "I'm gay." Who fucking cares? You know, I honestly don't care. All right, so the radio says Midtown Bank, where the gunman is reportedly holed up with several innocent hostages. Unlike those guilty hostages, God, Tim, learn to fucking write. Reports that Green Lantern is already on the scene. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, boys, says Green Lantern as he's suiting up. Suit up! They're excited. They're just excited to go get him, boss, and Green Lantern flies off. His journal says, heroes are people who dive headlong into danger for the good of others. It's hard to say what I was doing on the ship was for anyone's. Okay, they're bouncing. He's bouncing it back and forth. And, yeah, okay. There's a rule. You don't turn away from the grill in the phone booth. Okay. I forgot where I read it, but it was like you have your hero. He's in a phone booth, and all of a sudden there's a gorilla with him. And on that day, the clouds were bright and full and fluffy. This blue sky blue. Who fucking cares? Tell us about the gorilla in the phone booth. So that's kind of what's going on. Bank robbery. It's hard to say what I was doing on that ship was for anyone's good but my own, mine and Jimmy's. The idea was to write our ticket to the out of the army to them. The Crimson Flame was a valuable weapon to me. It was a doctoral fellowship and a book or three, just enough to keep the lights on as we tucked ourselves away in the middle of some blissful nowhere, a future. Corporal, where have you been? Sorry, it's you dropped it. My God, Johnny, I didn't mean. You know you didn't. It's okay. You know, and he's because he dropped his ring. So where are they that they now feel okay to waltz? Are they about to waltz?
It seemed like that was where the scene was heading, I think. But.
Okay, so as they're waltzing, or after, is that Alan Scott? He was waltzing, and now it's, look sharp, men. We may only get one shot at this. Corporal, light it up. And suddenly this ludicrous thing I dreamed up on a train from Gotham to D.C. and spent the better part of 2 years perfecting hummed to life. The bulkhead opened to give the plasma flame what we thought it wanted, a vessel, a protective enclosure to carry it safely from the darkest depths back into the light. And we see bright lights going on. Some people are actually screaming. It's working. What we thought it wanted, we'd always playfully attributed to the kind of intelligence to the Crimson Flame. It was sort of a silly thing you do when you're working long hours and trying to stay the same. And apparently they did it. Apparently they get the Crimson Flame. We did it. You did it, Alan. You're the hero. But it turned out it was intelligent. And now, when we see that the ship is surrounded by red flames, it was angry. Dun, dun, dun. So we got a red flame kraken destroying the gigantic boat. And we see the men tumbling inside as the boat is dragged down. And you get some help somebody's. And then we hear Lieutenant. And we cut to the bank. God, dude, seriously. Horrible transitions.
Yeah.
You're going to leave a shipwreck for a bank robbery now. I get what you're trying to
we
do.
suddenly remembered that the plot existed, even though we spent like 4 pages on nothing but heavy dialogue.
Yeah. Let's see. We're going to block that and have a good time. There you go. I don't care for that, by the way. I just don't. So there you go. Let me get the book back. Let's see. Gay people only exist because of straight people. I don't even understand what you're coming up with on that one.
I think he's making a joke. The joke, of course, being that every gay person is the result of heterosexuality because they were born.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that before. What's up, Derek? Let's see. Pacing, remember, that was 50% reading. Rewritten, says cartoons of corporal. Each one of the highly trained and educated people on a technical mission would be an officer, says Jim. That's something I wouldn't know. I was never in the military. So anyway, it does bounce back to the bank robbery. Good, you're back. I was only gone for a couple of hours. I didn't think anyone would notice this. What's the situation? Hours? Never mind, the hostages are safe and free thanks to you. But we got a few loose ends needing to tie up first. First off, where's the suspect? The suspect? Yeah, listen, the boys in blue really do appreciate your help, but without a suspect, we can't exactly close out the file. Now, where'd you take him? I just got here, Lieutenant. We got witnesses saying you grabbed the guy and headed for the pier. They're obviously mistaken. It's hard to mistake you. Also, the loon with the gun was only wearing shorts and combat boots, so pretty recognizable there, too. Did you say? Then we hear, oh, my God. And then there's a big old red flame. It's coming straight for us. Probably the only straight thing in the book.
But
no? Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, so the ship's going. We're cutting back. The ship's going down as we got the Green Lantern or Alan Scott trying to catch his guy. And he does. He's holding him by the leg, and his diary says, my Johnny. At this point, the demonic flame creature or whatever it was had made it very clear it wanted us all dead, and our response was a resounding hell no. But it wasn't over yet. Not even close. Okay, now let's get back to the bank robbery. Evacuate this building now. We can't move that fat, and we see a flash. Get it? A flash? All right. And we cut to the ship. Those ships lost. We need to salvage the pod and get to the raft before it's too late. No, I've got a better idea. Let's cut to the bank robbery again. Of course, Pardon?
What he's trying to do, I think, is ramp up tension by having 2 tensious things happen simultaneously, but it's not working.
It really is not. What it builds is confusion.
Just annoyance. Because
I'm being asked why read this over a Midnight or an Apollo, because this show is called Bad Comic Beatdown Live.
But that's a very good question and a very good point. I.e., when you start with characters who just happen to be gay, you can actually have stories about them.
Well,
instead of
here, I actually had Midnight or Apollo thrown back in my face because that's what we all say, right? Oh, you just hate gay people. No, Midnight or Apollo. You always bring that up because it's a good
example. Same thing with Hawkman and Wiccan.
Gay couple. Why are you not writing gay characters well, especially if you're fucking gay?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that the people who truly, truly cannot write gay characters are gay writers.
Because the people who get hired are the people who most embrace the big gay Al stereotype, and it's what I freaking hate about it.
Yeah, but that's why we're reading this. It's Bad Comic Beatdown. How about and the sad thing is good comic theater or whatever will never sell. Not on this channel anyway. Not that I wouldn't love to, because Apollo and Midnight are a ton better than this shit. And that's what's going on. It's muddled storytelling. And I think you're right. I think they're trying to build the tension, but it would work in a TV show. It'd work in a movie. It does not work on a comic.
It'd work better if you at least got to a point in the tension. Like if you got to a twist in the tension where something momentous just happened and then you cut away, that does actually help build I think didn't Frank Miller do that kind of in Dark Knight Returns, at least a little bit, but the problem is he's not waiting for each scene to build any kind of tension or wait for each plot to move forward to a stopping point. He's
one scene, and when
random.
they did the animated feature, they did it wrong. One scene that I was truly looking forward to is it's the dark and stormy night, and they're chasing Two-Face's car, and the lightning's going off, and lightning goes off, and there's an older cop in the car, there's a younger cop, and the younger cop goes, "What is this?" And the older cop goes, "Huh?" And then he smiles and he says, "Kid, you're in for a show." And then that's when you have that famous picture of Batman flying across the air with the lightning. And I thought that I want to see on big screen. I think that would be a great cinematic moment. And then they did the scene in the comic, but they forgot to have the cops build it up. The cops are what built it up. And the whole line, "Kid, you're in for a show." Boom. That's not what's going on here. What is going on here is a lack of focus on the story as we go. And I think the big twist is going to be the living embodiment of this red thing is going to be his boyfriend. Of course, I had no clue if it would work, says Green Lantern, but I sure as hell had to try. He did it. The Green Lantern saved us. Go, Greenie. Oh, good Lord. Okay, Greenie is snot. Just saying, Greenie is a booger. If you're in a pool, you might even turn to a friend and go, "Greenie check." You know, that just, okay. Because sometimes you just get lucky, says Alan Scott after he blows the red all over the place. Have you lost your mind, says what looks like the commanding officer. It's just rough calculations, but if I dump the contained plasma out of the port bulkhead, the backdraft might produce just enough force to right the ship. You're talking about throwing it back, the Crimson Flame, the thing we've spent 2 years trying to capture.
The thing that almost killed you? Yes.
Ejecting it might be the best chance I have to get you out of this in one piece. There has to be another way. Of course there was. There always is, if you take the time to work it out. Everybody hold on to something as he sees the red light building up, and he flips a switch. That's my job. I'm an engineer, not a hero. There's so much I might have worked out if I'd remembered that. It all just happened so fast and honestly. And we go from outside the ship where the action is happening to sirens. Hot diggity dog. You're lucky that worked, hero. If we'd lost both you and the flame, we haven't lost anything yet, Corporal. I didn't want to let him down. It's still out there, and we see the tendrils of the red flame fly up. But it's true what they say, play with fire. And we're still close enough to try it and expect to get burned. And we see the boyfriend being taken. Back to the bank robbery. And we see Alan Scott carrying his boyfriend. Flash there. Lantern, it's good to see you. I thought maybe you'd quit the team. The gunman, where'd you? The roof. Sometimes you just get lucky. You sure about this? Of course I'm sure. Why? The froth around the mouth and nostrils. I'm not an expert, but I think this man's drowned. Drowned? Your luck just ran out. And those look like second-degree burns on his forearms. How do you drown and burn at the same time? Lantern, you okay? I hadn't really looked at his face, and now it's just, I know this man. And we see his journal says, and leaves the door open to a moment you should... Okay, let me tell you something. This is fucking annoying. We're getting his thoughts and his dialogue at the same time.
Yep.
And it's out of fucking order.
Yep.
If you have it so it's always first or always last, it doesn't interrupt. But the way he's doing it, it's all the way through. It's horrible, horrible writing.
It's also the problem of both the dialogue and the narration captions are wordy. A better option would have been to pick one, have the dialogue in the moment be terse because when people are in stressful situations, the dialogue tends to be terse, and then have the overly poetic, overly romanticized narration boxes doing the atmospheric heavy lifting. But because both the dialogue and the diary entries are purple, it's clouding out what should be a visual medium and making it basically a situation where why didn't you just write this as a novel?
Yeah, and by the way, this is outside the whole what they're doing to the character of Alan Scott. This is legitimately bad writing, bad structure, bad panel.
Yeah, no,
structure.
it's bad technically, not just like continuity wise, but in terms of craft, it's not good.
It's not just bad comic book writing; it's bad comic book structure. It's bad comic booking. All right, so we move.
Still not Marvel, but it's bad.
I see him every time I close my eyes. I see the two of us heartbeat apart, choking on the silence, drowning and burning somehow together. It's part of me now, us, like the ring that brought us together. The flame is what tore us apart. I can still hear the words, the tortured voice of the stranger. I swear I heard as my life disappeared in the deep of the dark. First we bring death. Every time I close my eyes, I feel that booming, raspy, maddening sound. And that's why I'm here. Bum, bum, bum. He's actually in Arkham. Okay, so what are you trying to tell us? That the bank robbery, the J. Edgar Hoover, all of that was wrong? Or are you telling us that this is where he ended up after he found his friend's dead body? You muddled writing motherfucker. Seriously.
Also, isn't Arkham specifically for the criminally insane?
Does
that imply that Alan went so far off the deep end he started committing crimes or like mass, destruction and so on? Because that also would have been nice to see and would have informed this moment if he had gone so nuts that he had his, Carrie at the end of the prom moment, and then wound up here. That would make sense, but if he's just insane, then there are ordinary mental institutions that he could go to that aren't freaking Arkham. You can't just do things because they're a nice reference. They actually have to make some kind of in-universe sense. Damn it.
Okay, so I haven't made it yet. I got better do it before Perch does because I mentioned it. But the problem. One of the problems I see with modern day comics is they write characters as if the characters have read comics. Like people know what we know because we're the readers. We're the omnipotent. We see everything in a comic book character's life. Mm-hmm. But they're starting to write comic characters as if they themselves have read the books and now know everything about other characters.
It's the problem with being meta savvy and self-aware. You can have an occasional character like a Mixius Pitlink or a Deadpool who is self-aware and who is meta, but the whole point is supposed to be the contrast. The characters whose lives are actually impacted by this stuff in universe take it at least somewhat seriously. And yeah, you can have them joking around and bantering with each other because this is their day job or because, humor helps diffuse stressful situations, but when they're literally basically doing long-form meta commentary, like every single character is Deadpool or Mixius Pitlink, it doesn't freaking work.
Yeah, this is somebody who knows about Arkham but doesn't know what Arkham is. So he puts Green Lantern into Arkham because, Gotham.
Again, you can't just make references, it actually has to make sense in universe. Are you saying that he had a Carrie moment and killed some people or destroyed something, or was it literally the only DC mental institution you knew?
Well, and something else, because this comes up all the time. Anytime you talk about a book or something like this and the word woke comes up, somebody says, what is woke? And me being right all the time, has come up with the perfect answer. SJWs are who they are and woke is what they do. And SJWs is someone who will only see and refer and respond to people through their immutable characteristics. Woke is their actions in the same mode. Take a movie I love, by the way, the remake of the West Side Story by Steven Spielberg. Brilliant. By the way, Rachel Zegler, for all the shit everybody's giving her, is very freaking talented. But in the movie West Side Story, you got these brilliant performances by these Hispanic actors. And in order to honor the Hispanic language, instead of putting subtitles into the film where people who don't speak Spanish would be able to understand what they say, Spielberg decided that that would be putting the English language above Spanish. Therefore, I'm not going to let you do that. That's woke, because it serves no narrative purpose to the story.
It's morality above everything.
I put that same situation to put making Alan Scott or making Tim Drake. Tim Drake worse, almost as bad, gay. There's no narrative reason to do that. You did that because, hey, you know what? Why not? Because we need to have those woke points.
Because the stories don't matter, the characters don't matter, the in-universe logic doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is my morality and my politics.
There is no narrative reason to have these characters be gay. And this story could have been told with any other character. And that's a big problem. Now, take away all of the identity politics, take away all of that stuff, and what you've got is a bad comic. Before we go on, let me get some. I've neglected the comment section long enough here. Let's see. This book is bad from art and writing. I agree. And by the way, like I said, structure. Let's see. It's a muddled storytelling, says Undead Quinn. Oh, you always bring them up. Yeah, gold standards are always remembered. Yes, talking about why straight guys will always bring up Apollo and Midnight, or gay guys will always bring up
I mean, my go-to is always Wiccan and Hulkling, because they are,
there you go,
to use a modern parlance, relationship goals for me, but that's neither here nor there.
Let's see. When they used to run two stories like that, up panels would be one story and the parallel story would be on the bottom panels, and they would both flow naturally. Yeah, so basically, I remember what Jim's talking about. So you could actually read one story and then go back and read the other if you wanted to. Why do you always bring it The Godfather and Lord of the Rings? Because it's the best movies. Well, okay. Not gay. I'm not the gay one. He is. But my favorite movies, I shit you not, Singing in the Rain of Mary Poppins. I've come to that conclusion. I thought about, at one point in time, I did list every film I ever saw. It was over like 3,000 films, and I put them in ranking. And I was like, I got to the top 100. That top 100 was harder than the rest of the list. Like, where do you put that? And then I got down to the bottom. And the first time I did it, it was Jaws, and then Raiders. And then I was like, I love these movies. So why do I always watch Singing in the Rain and Mary Poppins? I love the music.
For me, the deciding factor there is, all other things being equal, if you had access to every movie ever recorded on some hypothetical streaming service, what would you choose to watch more than anything else? That's why, even though it's an obscure movie, Ninth Gate is still one of my all-time favorite movies, because there are very few movies I will not choose Ninth Gate over, even if I like those movies.
As far as movies, wow, yeah, that's probably Singing. I can watch those anytime, but there's a whole bunch that when you've seen so many movies. I mean, I'm 53 years old, so yeah, I've seen shit tons. But,
and you worked in an actual movie theater for.
Yes, I did. I literally had seen everything that was released in Orlando in the 90s. But I say the same thing about songs. When you have seen and heard so many, you make a top 100. There's going to be some awesome songs left off of that list. There's going to be some awesome movies. Let's see what we're saying here. I mean, you can even have a more emphasis on the Kershey sexuality. Just can't be all that they are. Then that's what we're talking about. When a gay writer writes a gay character in modern day, that's all they are. That's all Alan Scott was. That is all that Alan Scott was.
And part of this is the company's fault, and part of this is the editor's fault, because they don't just get gay people to write gay characters. They get ideologically LGBT people to write these characters. And they embrace every straw man of gay people you can imagine, because they think, if I don't embrace the stereotype, then I'm letting the patriarchy win, or something along those lines.
So Tehillim is telling us that even Brian Michael Bendis approves of this comic. Let's see. People remember the damage Brian Michael Bendis did in DC Comics. Worst mistake. Tehillim is the big. I always say that wrong. Tehillim is the biggest Super Sons fan I know. Super Sons were destroyed by Brian Michael Bendis coming. It was so horrible what we got instead of Super Sons. Super Sons was A+. I don't think I ever read a bad issue of Super Sons. And then we get Brian Michael Bendis on Superman. Let's see. It worked in the Superman Milestone crossover. I like Superman Milestone. I like Milestone, tell you the truth. The original, not the new one. The new version is what 2023 would be considered. It's horrible.
It's the difference between someone actually writing from a post civil rights black perspective and someone writing a BLM comic.
Let's see. Derek saying, my problem with woke is that if it means being aware of injustice, that doesn't equal I know how to fix the problem. Listen to me. I don't like the arrogance. Yeah. I've seen some people like going, hey, I'm all for social justice because I don't think racism is good. That's not social justice warrior.
No.
Okay. First of all, put any word in front of the word justice and it's not justice any longer. It just isn't.
Justice shouldn't be social. It should just be, it should be what it is.
Justice, you know, you do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. Okay, fine. You put any word in front of it and it puts something or someone above everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they were troubled in the past doesn't matter. It's not justice if you elevate someone above the other in certain circumstances. Not
to mention, it's basically a moral victory via euphemism, because they're taking something that should be narrow, should be able to be universal, justice that might have a social element, and turns it into a proper noun, capital S, capital J, social justice. It's just like the idea of family values with a lowercase f and a lowercase v versus family values with an uppercase f and an uppercase v. Those aren't the same thing. It's an ideological group trying to use something that is seen as universally good to basically make themselves above criticism.
Right. Okay, so Maranya is, oh, hold on. Derek said, my problem, okay, yeah, I got it. Maranya, from what I understand in the DC multiverse, there's a universe where every one of the heroes is on the spectrum. It's not the main universe. DC did retcon Alan Scott being a gay man in the main one as well. Yeah, we talked about the book a little bit, but it's not a retcon. Yeah, it's a retcon. Even if you're going from the New 52, it was a retcon. It was a horrible one. It should have been done away with when we went to Rebirth. Tacos are coming back.
Again, it erased an actual organically gay character, his son, and plastered his homosexuality onto his father for some reason, because Alan Scott is a bigger character and a more well-known name. And that's all they really care about. That's why they don't write characters who were pre-established to be gay, like Midnighter and Apollo or Hulkling and Wiccan. They want to take things that are not theirs and make them theirs, rather than use what's there, because they don't actually care about what's there. They care about using things as a weapon.
Marani goes on to say Sheridan did not retcon Scott per se. He is retconning everything about the JSA and tarnishing many years of what came before. There is a quote by, I believe it was Mark Waid. The first rule when you get onto a character is do no harm. And that has gone out the freaking window.
Of
Let's
course,
see.
even Mark Waid has forgotten that for the most
Yeah.
part, but yeah.
Derek's saying also, just because race swapping is more representative doesn't mean that it's how we achieve it. It's about having political flaw. The story comics now are just the peanut butter with the jelly on the side. So, Derek, I'm going to disagree with you on this. Only on one sentence. Race swapping is not representative. It's presentative. I always say this. People who have been around know this. There's a difference between representation and presentation. And when they race swap somebody, that is presentation. That just means we need a black guy. And you know what? We're going to do, let's say, I'm trying to think of a white character. I can't. We're going to do Captain Marvel. We're Shazam. But we're going to do him as a black guy now. Why? Representation. It's a or an underutilized race. So we're going to make Captain Marvel, Shazam, a black guy now. But why don't you just make a new character or push forward one? You're racist. But you've got a lot of black characters that could use a book. No, stop being racist. I'm blocking you now. That's how it always goes. But representation would be to push forward already these characters or to create a new character and give them a life that is led normally. Black people are always going to be black people. White people are always going to be white people. And we don't walk around mentioning how white we are, how black we are.
And that's the really funny thing about all of this. The hyper focus and hyper fixation and hyper attention paying to it is not how you diffuse the hatred or the bigotry. That's how you exacerbate the hatred and the bigotry. Yeah. Because the best solution to hatred or short-sightedness is two parts: exposure and apathy, i.e. racism goes down when race is no longer an issue. Homophobia goes down when everyone knows someone relatively normal in their lives who happens to be gay. Misogyny goes down when people have good women models in their lives, and so on and so on and so forth. Apathy is the solution to hatred, not moral purity and moral fixation.
Oh, you want to? There's two things I triggered some people over at Tristan's. I did a interview over there, or a debate, and two things. One, I said, when you say I love all, name the minority, it's the same as when you say, it's a nicer way of saying I hate all, because what you're saying is all, whatever it is the same. You're just, you don't put humanity.
You don't see the person behind the identity at that point.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's a family man, goes to work, takes care of his kids, wants to make sure him and those around him are doing well, versus a criminal. Doesn't matter if it's white, black, or whatever. If you say I love all, it's the same as saying I hate all, just nicer, because it sounds better. But what you're saying is I think all are exactly the same. And the second point I lost, so I'm just going to let it go. But let's see. I will say this about changing a kid's sexuality. It takes people years to realize it, but at the same time, fictional characters kind of move faster than us. Some of the kid was May 40 years ago. I'm not quite sure I got that, but gender swapping is fridging too. I think so. I think so. I don't know. Anywho, we've been at this for an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed. I was hoping, I got to say, anytime I do a bad comic beatdown, I'm hoping this is the one where I'm like, holy shit, that was pretty good. And I gave props where props were due. And I really do like the fact that they took some time and they actually wrote an article at the beginning and such like that. But this book progressively got worse. I get it. A lot of us were like, oh, you're making Scott gay. And the first bit out the gate, first advertisement was J. Edgar Hoover trying to blackmail him. Second one was the love scene. This was not a book that was advertised on its action or on the superheroics. It was advertised on the gayness. Surprising thing though, is that was not the worst part about this comic. It really
No,
was not.
it was the technical issues,
It
because
really was,
even
yeah.
the identity politics is incidental to what makes social justice as heinous as it is. What really makes social justice as heinous as it is, even putting the identity stuff aside, is this hatred of technical skill, this hatred of merit, this hatred of things existing for their own sake, this hatred of valuing things. That's what really makes social justice and critical theory and postmodernism and all the rest of it terrible. Is it doesn't think that merit should exist, and so it goes out of its way to prove its case by deleting or undermining any examples of merit or technical skill they can find on purpose.
Overall, this book sucked, and it didn't have it truly, in all honesty, it had less to do with the identity politics than the bad writing, the bad art, and the bad structure. That's it.
By the way, I don't feel represented by any of this at all.
You know what? Then you're not gay. Start looking for big boobs and a fine ass on a woman now. So
no. I will keep looking for my 6'7" built like a brick shit house guy.
Okay, there you go. All righty, kids. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't mind helping out the channel. If you like videos like this, go on over to Ko-Fi, drop $1 in the tip jar, or join. That'd be cool too. All righty. Thank everybody who's already done that.
Join us in about 2 hours for the Marvel role-playing game.
That's
tonight
right.
at 10:30 Eastern. We are doing the Marvel RPG season. I believe we're on season 4.
And please share this out, and don't forget to click like and all that. Now, once again, he's the gay one. I'm not. I'm gonna sign out here and go watch Dancing with the Stars. Have a good time, guys.
Cheers, guys.